Hello, everyone. Russ with Grandmax Pets here with Jesse from Shapes in Nature. Welcome, Jesse.
How you doing?
Glad to have you here. This has been exciting. We were just chatting before the thing starts, and I'm really excited about this setup. I'm really excited about this, all the potential this has in the hobby. This is amazing. So so for those of you who are just haven't really heard about it, you're just popping in, Aquatic Insect Communities. Jesse, how long have you been keeping the 10-gallon you had set up?
Oh man, I am getting horrible. Your voice cut out, sounded like a robot for me here.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was all fine before we broadcasted, and now I could barely hear what you said there.
I was just asking you how long you've had your 10-gallon tank that you set up.
So the 10-gallon tank, the little one, I've had for over a year. I would say it's probably been a year and like 3 or 4 months or so.
Okay.
And it's doing awesome. I mean, I barely had to. Some stuff I've had to replace, but I've barely had to replace anything in that tank.
And it looks fantastic. It looks in good shape, and you said it's very low maintenance, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I barely ever clean it. They just kind of take care of themselves in there, which is like what's so cool about these. The new tank I got, I've only had for 5 or 6 days, but it's going really well, and that's 30 gallons.
Okay, so it ended up being a 30-gallon tank. Yeah. I'm trying to bring up. I'm gonna put in your. I realized I forgot to put your link in the banner, so I'm just gonna drop that in the banner here, so people know where to find you.
Oh, right.
And they can find you in other places too, but this is one place that they can find you. So here we go. Does that look good?
Yeah, I mean, all of my Instagram and my TikTok and stuff, where all my videos are just at Shapes in Nature. So
so it's easy to find whatever was going on.
It's easy to find. Yeah, it's
cool.
And same with my YouTube channel. I'm gonna start doing a lot of stuff about this tank. We're gonna do an entire setup video on YouTube as well that kind of goes through the whole process of setting up the tank.
Yeah, and let me know when you do that. I want to link to it and just get it out there so everybody can see it.
Yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm.
And here's Peter joining us here. I totally missed coming out too. I really wanted to get out there this year, but I am glad we're able to do this, and definitely coming next year. Saving up. I've got money in the bank. Make sure that no matter which financial issues hit us, I'll still have that money saved up. I'll have my tickets purchased in advance. It'll be set.
Yeah, it wasn't a complete year without Russ this year.
It certainly wasn't a complete year for me without coming. I was looking forward to it all year, and then couldn't do it anymore. But I'll make it work. I'll make it work next year for sure. And then Arthropod Ambassadors is here. Aaron's in love with predaceous diving beetles. Oh, main trick is the filter not sucking bugs in. Oh, can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah.
About your filter and how you keep bugs from being sucked up and what happens and all that?
So for the small tank that I have it on the lowest setting, and nothing seems to really have an issue with getting sucked up in there. If you were to have things like ostracods, copepods, really, really small macro kind of stuff, yeah, it would definitely get sucked up in that tank, no problem. But I am working on a solution for that. I'm going to get that. Well, actually, you sent me that link that kind of like a sponge filter that kind of goes inside, and I'm definitely going to try using that, because with the bigger tank, that's why I don't really have any mini diving beetles in my tank right now, because they do get sucked up. They do fine. They actually kind of would rather be up there, because there's tons of food particles and all kinds of stuff. And but I had pulled some out and noticed that I had some in that one, so I'm kind of waiting to get the sponge filter to put a bunch of the little beetles in the big tank, because it's a much larger filter. But if you have a 10-gallon tank, you could probably put the thing on the lowest speed and it wouldn't really do anything. All of the bigger bugs, all the back swimmers, water boatmen, diving beetles, whatever you have in there, are going to be fine. They don't get sucked up into there at all.
Awesome. Just those of you who are watching right now, how are we doing in terms of sound quality? Is it coming through all right? I know we're having a few issues with video, but I just want to make sure we're doing okay with sound.
Yeah, I'm getting, it's kind of choppy for me. I don't know why, but it was working fine earlier. But
yeah, as far as I'm on my end, everything's coming in clean as far as sound goes. The video is a little choppy, but the sound is fine. Okay, so Aaron says that the sound is great, but the video's off. So we can live with that a little bit.
Well, if it's good for them, then good. I might be asking, what did you say a few times, though, because it's cutting out on that.
And that's totally fine. And we are going to show some of your 30-gallon tank here. I'm just going to give a little preview. It might take a second to buffer up before it starts showing, but you can see some of the beetles zipping around and things like that, which is awesome. If it's just the internet's not going to give us the full picture, but if you want to see what Jesse's tanks his tanks look like, because you have a 10-gallon, a 30-gallon, and is it a 3-gallon or a 5? Your little one.
The 3-gallon just has my giant water bug in it.
Okay, it just has your giant water bug.
He doesn't commingle with other bugs.
No. And so, that's one thing we wanted to cover too is we're talking about aquatic insect communities, but community, communal, those terms can mean different things to different people, and there are just different levels of risk that people are willing to deal with. So can we address that topic a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. So in the tank you're looking at right now, I still have a lot of other insects that I plan on putting in there, but there's about 35 different insects in there, comprising between back swimmers, water boatmen, and I can go over those insects in a minute, to several different species, a few different species of predaceous diving beetles. The diving beetles, all the diving beetles get along really well. They tend to just swim communally. So if you're wanting a tank that is strictly communal, that nothing's gonna possibly get eaten out of it or anything like that, mainly just having diving beetles in the tank is the way to go for that. You definitely could have water boatmen in the tank, because unlike other hemipterans, aquatic hemipterans, these ones actually, water boatmen are actually not carnivorous. They mainly feed on detritus and fungus and bacteria and algae. And so they're kind of like the isopods of an aquatic tank in a way. They just feed on all of the excess stuff that's down there.
I love that. It's a great comparison with the isopods. And did you say, is it the water boatmen? Are they one of the ones that will breed in there? We'll talk more about breeding later, but are they the ones that will do that?
So there's like 3 kind of different sizes of back swimmers. There's kind of the larger ones that have the red elytra on their back, they tend to stay near the top of the water. They're the ones that you always kind of see hovering just below the water, and they are very carnivorous. They like to eat a lot. I only have about 3 of them in this tank, even though it's a 30-gallon tank, but that's mainly because they will feed on other stuff in that tank. Now, they are pretty happy with being fed all the flies and bloodworm that I throw in there, but they definitely have been known to take out, water boatmen as well as the small diving beetles. They don't really have a chance against anything larger than that. But they are very voracious eaters, so they will go after certain things if they can. I try to keep mine well fed, but it is kind of something to keep in mind if you do have the larger back swimmers. They are a really cool addition to the tank. They're very active, so I love them. Same with my water scorpion. I do have 1 water scorpion in there, and it is a beast. It hunts all day, every day. With this tank, it is a large enough space to where it can't just opportunistically feed constantly. I had thrown one in my 10-gallon tank, and it just was eating things left and right, because it could get to any bug very easily in that tank compared to this one. So I definitely do not recommend any large predatory insect in anything below a 30-gallon tank. If you want to strictly have communal. Now, you might want that. That might be your main focal insect in your tank. And then, everything else would just be considered feeders. Now, they cannot feed on the larger diving beetles. So again, if you have a tank that is primarily diving beetles, they won't do anything to those. They can't eat them. And then half the time the diving beetle is just landing on it anyways and resting on it. It's kind of funny. But they will take the large back swimmers. I mean, those things can pretty much eat anything else in that tank. So they're really cool, but they definitely are a voracious eater. So if you were wanting something strictly communal and you don't have to worry about a predator, I would then not put it in there for sure.
Not the
but
species for that one, yeah. The
I feed mine constantly. I just use tongs and tweezers, and I feed it crickets and roaches, and so it stays pretty well fed. So it tends to stay away from the other things in the tank, but it's always on the hunt. Even after it eats, it's always like, all right, I'm ready for the next one. Like it's just not as active feeding when you keep it well fed.
So
of course,
go ahead.
I was going to say anything like a ferocious water bug or a giant water bug, like you can't have those will eat anything. Those will eat the diving beetles. They'll eat anything you have in that tank, and they'll eat it constantly. So I keep Lurch. I named him Lurch. He's my big giant water bug. I keep him separate from all the other bugs.
I love that name. Are you an Addams Family fan?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That makes sense. That's awesome. Well, for those of you who may not be familiar with what a water scorpion looks like, it's not related to a mantis, but it's kind of like a slender aquatic mantis in appearance, basically, because it's a hemipteran. It's a true bug, so it has a piercing mouth like many other true bugs do, but it's got raptorial forelegs like a mantis, and a general body shape very mantis-like. Very, very cool creatures.
They are amazing. I love mine in the tank personally, but it was eating way too much. It was eating like 4 bugs a day in my 10-gallon tank. It was just so accessible for it. I was like, all right, you need to get out of there.
Wow, they are fantastic creatures, and they're so they're worth it. But in a setup where you're prepared to deal with it, like you said, when you think of predatory insects in an aquatic community, you're thinking of risk management. What sort of risks are you willing to take, and what sort of steps are you willing to take to minimize that risk?
Right. And that's kind of how, if you, like I've said, Peter and I have talked about this, like basically, like if you have any kind of predators, whether it's large back swimmers or water scorpion or creeping water bugs or anything like that, just know that anything that you buy, like the small diving beetles or small back swimmers, consider them feeders. Don't grow too attached if you have a predator in there, because they will go after them.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Oh, Aaron just was mentioning about the
100%. Yes. Oh
totally
my God.
does look like that. Yeah,
definitely. Absolutely. I wonder if Aaron, I don't know. Did we send Aaron one? Aaron, did we send you a water scorpion?
Let's see what she says. They are just.
We need to. We definitely need to.
We found someone when I was out there last year, and they were cool, and I had them for quite a while. I don't have them anymore, but I had them for quite a while. They were eating endlers, live-bearing fish, because I ate a ton of those.
So talking about living, let's talk about lifespan of a lot of these insects. So that's a question I get quite a bit.
Yeah, good idea.
How long do these things live? So water scorpions, they can live close to 2 years. They can live a little while. Things like that, a lot of the larger predatory hemipterans can live a while. However, things like back swimmers and water boatmen, they generally live about 6 to 8 months.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing with those is that they are prolific breeders, and they will breed in your tank. They lay eggs on foliage, and those eggs will hatch, and you'll get a bunch of little ones at some point, which is pretty cool.
And I guess with the detritivores, it's pretty easy to raise the babies because they're just eating the same things the adults are eating.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And
the little ones will feed on floating bloodworm and all kinds of stuff in there. And the water boatmen, they just kind of do their thing. They just kind of tend to hide. I've noticed that the water boatmen generally will lay their eggs under the rock crevices and whatnot.
Cool.
Which is kind of cool. But as far as the diving beetles can live up to 3 years, which is really cool.
That is.
They are definitely the longest living in those tanks for sure. And the little mini ones, they live about the same. I thought that the little ones would live a lot less. Lacophyllus or something like that. But anyways, they live about the same amount of time as the larger ones do. So they'll live a long time.
That's fantastic.
Cool. Yeah. So I mean, you have a good array of things that for in the bug world that will live for a while. So
yeah. And some of these beetles, like the Sunburst diving beetles, ever since I saw those first on, I think it was on Peter's channel, I just thought, I gotta have these. These are fantastic. The colors are just amazing on the Sunburst diving beetles.
Yeah, they're my favorite in the tank, hands down. I mean, they're just so cool. I have 8 of them in my big tank right now. Cool. And they're just cool. The solid black ones are really neat too. The Ronchus Color. If you're looking to buy diving beetles and you see those for sale, get one of those too, because they're bigger than Sunburst diving beetles. They're a little bit larger, and they're incredibly active as well. They're a little bit quicker. They tend to move a lot faster than the other diving beetles. So cool.
So yeah, the more variety, the better.
Yeah, I have like 7 of those in this tank, and they're just incredibly active. And then there's a smaller species that look just like those, but they're like maybe half the size, if not even fully half the size. And I'm not sure the species yet. I haven't figured that out yet, but they're really cool and really active as well.
Cool. Oh, hold on a second. I think I have a setting wrong on the video.
What's going on?
I think I have a setting wrong on the video. I'm going to check real quick. I think it might. I might need to adjust a setting so that it goes out to more people. So just a second while I fiddle with that. I'm going to put. Let's see. Because generally, what's going on? I think we might not be getting launched out to people, and I'm trying to figure out why that is the case. So 1 second. That's why we're unlisted right now. Holy cow. How did that even happen? Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. I had the setting on unlisted, so it's going to go live now. We're going to get a ton more people coming in.
Oh.
Darn. Sorry. That's never happened to me before. Sorry about that.
I'm not really fully sure what that even means. So,
well, basically, this wasn't getting out to other people, and now immediately, as soon as I do that, now it is. So other people are starting to show up in the stream.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So yeah, so some people are going to have to watch the the rerun, but I see Jackson Manning is here now, and Monkey Maniola, and people are coming in. So this is good.
Cool.
So and there's Vocabulous. Yeah, lots of people are starting to show, and. Well, Peter says, yeah, he didn't see the link on YouTube. He had to type it off in Instagram. So that's what happened. Apologize for that. That's dumb. But now a lot of people are showing up. So better late than never.
Yeah.
I apologize, everybody. I screwed it up. But
gosh, Russ. Unbelievable.
Now, sorry, everyone. That was not my intention. But we're here with Jesse at Shapes of Nature, and he's showing us this is his 30-gallon tank that he's got here. And this was, how long have you had this one set up, you said?
I just did it like a week ago. So my nephew and niece came into town, and we set it up. Basically, we got all the stuff for it, set it up, and then we went to the different cattle tanks and looked for stuff to put in it.
Cool. And how many species of beetle, and well, not just beetle, because you have lots of different aquatic insects in here. How about how many species you have in here?
So let's see. I want to say, as far as the large, I have 4 species of large predaceous diving beetle. There's about 7 species of small predaceous diving beetle. There's a water scorpion. There's 3 different species of back swimmer, water boatman, and 2 creeping water bugs in it right now. Oh, I also have a dragonfly naiad and 2 damselfly dragontail naiads. So.
Cool. You know, the first aquatic insect I ever had, I was about 7 or 8 years old, and my third grade teacher took us on a field trip, and we collected a damselfly naiad, and I brought it home and put it in my aquarium, and it metamorphosed into a damselfly, and I got to release it, and that was my first experience.
Yeah, those things are so cool. I had never seen the dragon tail ones. I will be releasing a video of those soon. They are so. I thought like in the water when you first kind of see them, like they look like minnows swimming around, and then I was like, wait, that's a bug, and the fins are just so cool on them.
Cool. I'm gonna have to check that out. Yeah, are you gonna put that on YouTube? Or
oh yeah, yeah. I'll be actually. It's going to be one of my next videos I post on Instagram. Are the naiads that I have in the tank.
Cool.
Everything leaves those things alone. That's for sure. So.
And how did the damselflies do with the other stuff? I know dragonfly naiads will eat just about anything, but
the damselflies that they pretty much mainly feed on the bloodworm I put in there. They don't really go after anything else. Sometimes if there's some little ostracods or copepods, they'll feed on those as well. But no, they generally leave everything alone, with the exception of they go to town on bloodworms, or if you have like mosquito larvae or any other kind of nymph or larva in this tank that's small, they'll definitely eat those as well.
Cool. And it's really interesting how, I guess, with a lot of these predatory bugs, it's a balance of managing the risk by just making sure that they are well fed.
Yep.
And then
that is a huge thing.
Okay.
If you don't feed the water scorpion, it will definitely start going after everything else for sure. So. Yeah,
that makes sense.
The dragonfly naiad I have in there is of some kind of skimmer. It's a rather small one. It's not going to get very big. It's not like a darner dragonfly or any naiad or anything. And but it definitely will go after the small diving beetles. And it generally lives on the bottom of the tank. And that's what's really cool about these tanks for a lot of people that are interested in aquatic tanks, is that you have so many different layers of an aquatic invert tank. So you have your bottom layer with all your rocks, and most of the small diving beetles, any kind of naiad, that kind of stuff, are going to be down there. And who here has a favorite water bug? Man, that's a tough one. I think the water scorpion's probably my favorite. I think those things are like the coolest thing personally. But the sunburst diving beetles are really awesome too.
So if you had to pick a favorite beetle, it might be the sunburst diving beetle. But
yeah, I mean, they're just so cool. They just really, and how the light reflects on them is really neat, which is really cool. But anyways, like I was saying, on the bottom layer, you'll have a bottom layer that has a lot of bugs that are kind of swimming around, and the diving beetles kind of go on all layers. They kind of go up and down, and you kind of have that middle layer that's going to have your back swimmers. They're the main ones that are kind of your middle layer. They generally stay in the middle, and then the bigger ones will stay on the top. And then you have your top layer, which is like the larger back swimmers. And then you have your even top layer, which I put Whirligig Beetles. And if you don't know what a Whirligig Beetle is, I will be making a video of those pretty soon. And there are a few different types of Whirligigs. You have small ones and large ones. And also things like water striders do really well on the top of tanks. But it's, again, with that area, you have to know what can get along and what doesn't. So things like small Whirligig beetles and water striders are just fine together. They'll leave each other alone. The large Whirligig beetles, though, like you either have just those or you have other bugs on the top up there, because those things are like wolves. Like they eat everything that's up there. Anytime I put a dead bug in there, it's gone so fast. Like the back swimmers that are on the top there really have to fight to get food, because those things are, So
I'm really excited to try those out. I think I'm excited to try all of it, but I think that would be so cool to have just a group of the large Whirligig beetles, and maybe in a tank even by themselves, or just have bigger diving beetles down below so they don't get eaten so much.
Oh, well, yeah, I was saying, those, you don't have to have them by themselves, because they're not going to attack anything that's in the water.
As long as it's just water surface, that's where it's the risky.
Yeah, and on the top surface you may notice some cork bark floating around, and I had that there are a lot of the scavenger beetles.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of the scavenger beetles, like the giant hydrophilus I have in here, which is the giant scavenger beetle. And it's about pushing 2 inches. It's almost 2 inches long or so. And then all the little scavenger beetles like to really hang out on those logs up there.
Mm-hmm.
They like to come out of the water quite a bit, and so do the diving beetles. The diving beetles like to come out of the water as well. What diving beetles are good in a 10 gallon? Any of the diving beetles are good in a 10 gallon. The diving beetles are the best thing in the tank. They are the most communal of anything. If you see a diving beetle eating another insect, it's because that insect was already dead. They generally scavenge. The diving beetles, the predaceous diving beetles will go after smaller, soft-bodied insects, such as mosquito larvae or any other kind of nymph, like mayfly nymphs or that kind of stuff. But generally, they completely leave each other alone, including the small ones. So they all just kind of get along. And in my 10-gallon tank, I probably have about 40 diving beetles. Most of them are small ones. You would be amazed how many. I mean, if you think about it, these insects live in these pools, right? And there's hundreds of them in a small pool, especially when the pool starts drying out. And so it's no different, and a lot of them can live together really well. And what's crazy is in the bigger tank, even in the smaller one, you don't even realize how many are in there. Like they all still have their space. And then you kind of start looking around and you're like, wow, I really have a lot of bugs in this thing. So it's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. I think hopefully Dope Critters that gives you some ideas. It sounds like you're good to go. If it's a diving beetle, you can put it in that 10-gallon.
Yeah, it's when you have a 10-gallon tank. If you were to put things like a water scorpion, or even creeping water bugs. That's something I was going to talk about. Is a really cool species. They are a very small water bug. They are the smallest of them, and they only get about dime size, full grown.
Mm-hmm.
But they tend to like to hide in the rocks, but they are very active, and they go after bloodworm that I throw in there, and they will go after any kind of smaller.
Oh shoot! Did we lose you? Oh, looks like we lost Jesse for a moment. Sorry about that. Hopefully we'll get him to come back in. Yep, we lost him for a minute. Jesse does have a YouTube channel, Shapes in Nature. You can see his website down here on the banner, Shapes in Nature. He also has Instagram and TikTok. So check those out as well. Just go to Shapes in Nature. And here he comes. He's coming back. Hopefully he's coming in. Here we go. We're back.
My thing. I didn't realize water striders had generations without wings that develop wings during generation that needs to leave. Like, wow. What other bugs have differences among generations? Yeah, I think actually there are a few. Mainly the water striders do that. I don't know of a whole lot of other ones, but I know that some, never develop wings, and some do. I think some of the back swimmers are sort of the same way. A lot of the back swimmers, like the smaller species, will develop wings, but they never even fly. They never even leave the pool that they were in most of the time. And then there are some that just do. So
interesting.
But yeah, water striders I love having those in the tank. They're really cool. And I have some that have wings, and then there are some that don't. So, and they're full grown.
That's very cool. I wonder if that has to do with haploid and diploid generation, like in aphids, because aphids will do that same thing, where the parthenogenesis occurs with the haploid generations, and then the diploid generation. Let's see. I don't want to mess this up as I say it, but basically, their parthenogenesis among females for several generations, and then when the weather starts to change, you get males and females, and then they mate and produce a diploid generation, which is genetically different, and there's a dispersal somewhere in that. There is a dispersal, and that's why the males and females of that generation have wings and some other cool stuff. So there are some other bugs that do that, and I guess they're hemipterids too.
Yeah,
so they're relatives. So it's an interesting thing going on anyway.
Yeah, I haven't. I would like to. I'm going to have to look into that more about the different water bugs, because that's just something I haven't really been researching a whole lot on for each different one. I know that there's another bug I haven't talked about yet are the long-toed water beetles, and those are really cool. They don't look like they belong in water. They literally they don't swim. They don't have the legs for it. They just look like some little beetle that's like drowning in water, but and walking on the bottom. But they're not drowning. They actually create. They actually do create their own oxygen with these hairs on their legs, and so you'll see them in the water, and they're constantly kicking their back legs like rudders on their body, and it's literally basically creating oxygen. It's really crazy how they do it, and so they don't even have to come to the surface.
They have a functional aqua lung because there's enough oxygen exchange and happening in those bubbles that they can diffuse carbon dioxide and absorb oxygen.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
that's super cool. Kind of like the water spiders do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's what's another cool thing about my hydrophilus that's in the tank. The big scavenger beetle is when you look at the bottom of it, it looks like kind of like a silvery sheen at first, and you realize it's just oxygen that it's collected on its body, and it's just like keeping it. Do you have any mini striders in your tank? You know what? I have like 3 in my little tank, but I had a few in my big tank. But once I put those large Whirligig Beetles on the top of that tank, those things vanished within like an hour. So I only have a few of them in the small tank. Uh-oh.
That makes sense.
Frozen on me. There you are.
Okay. Well, we've had a lot of people join in. It's a good thing I realized that there was a problem with the stream. I apologize again, everybody, but we've got Mantis God and Sandy's Life and Jackson Manning and Victor and Johan Exotics and that's cool. We got a lot of people that came in. I've never seen Breaking Bad, but apparently I look like one of the dudes in Breaking Bad. I've also heard that from other people, so even though I've never seen it, it must be true because more than one person.
I guess I'm gonna have to start calling you Heisenberg.
That's funny. Well,
here's the comments. Okay.
I want to. There's so many questions that we've had and that I've had, and I've written down, and you've covered a lot of them. I want to make sure we don't miss anything.
Where would you say is the best resource for looking into water bugs? That was from Jackson Manning.
Jackson Manning. Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Well, as far as wanting to find your own, I always recommend cattle tanks. Looking around, but as far as wanting to purchase them, I know that Bugs in Cyberspace has them. And they will definitely have more. We are working on breeding stuff and going to really up the game in the hobby. But as far as looking for them, yeah, I mean, finding an artificial cattle tank is really no different than breeding them. I mean, it's an artificial environment. It's not natural. It's not harming anything. If you're collecting from there, of course, going to streams and rivers and whatnot, you might be plucking things that are natural in its environment or you got to be careful doing stuff like that. You can really damage eggs and whatnot by moving rocks in the water. So it just kind of depends.
Right. I love the whole idea of the cattle tanks and how it basically it's a way to farm them. And
yeah, that's what we do. We have cattle tanks in our yard, in Peter's yard. I don't have any in mine, but and then there's a local spot that I go to that is just these big cattle tanks, and got to deal with a lot of cow poop all the time to get out there, but it's stinky, but it's fun.
Okay. Oh, here's a comment from Peter.
Russ about Breaking Bad, and somebody even drew a picture of. Do Russ and I look alike, Jesse? Maybe it's different stages of Walter White. Maybe there's he's got a few stages in that show,
Could be. We do have the facial hair in common.
Right. You got that, yeah, the facial hair definitely.
Yeah, that could be part of it. Okay, yeah, I don't know if I can shave. My wife would be very upset if I shaved, so I don't know if I can do that.
We'll see in a month.
Oh, Jackson got his Blue Death Fainting Beetles from you, Peter, and they're doing great.
I probably packed that now.
Yeah, Jackson's been really excited about those coming. Understandably, they are one of the coolest beetles out there.
I'd love a great diving beetle, and all diving beetles are great. I will say that.
It's true.
There's a species I'm looking for. It's Cybister. I don't remember the exact species of it, but it's one of the largest diving beetles, and it's really cool looking, but it's hard to track down. But definitely, if I find some, I'm going to breed them.
Is that the one that you said that was found in my state?
I can find them in Flagstaff.
Okay.
And they're like really predominant in Utah and Colorado and those kind of areas for sure.
Okay. I'm gonna have to see if I can locate some. I'm gonna see how the tanks do and see if we're getting see if it's buffered enough or not that we can see things going on. Getting some movement. We're just having some internet problems, folks. Sorry about that. It's funny because when we did our practice stream, was it last week? Or the week before?
Perfect.
It was so clean, and today is not quite as good. But you can still see some bugs zipping around. I just saw a big old beetle go up to the top, and I think maybe a whirligig beetle at the top. Seeing some things.
Yeah, those things are incredible. They never stop. Those things are always active. Let's see. Diving beetles next. Oh, here we go. I recently found there's a UK native water scorpion. Oh, that's cool.
Ooh, that is cool.
Be interested in seeing that. I'm sure there's some really awesome UK diving beetles too.
Oh, probably, yeah.
Jackson Man does say diving beetles next. I could talk about diving beetles. So I have, let's see. So I guess first one, I'll talk about sunburst diving beetles. Those are definitely the most popular, definitely the most flashy in the tank, and they're incredibly active. And they're bright. They're orange spotted with black. And then I also have Ronchus Arthropod, which are the solid black diving beetles. They're a little bit larger. They're an amazing species. They're incredibly active. They tend to be a little bit faster in the tank. Very, very good eaters. You have the banded diving beetle, which is another species of Thermonectus, like the sunburst. They're really cool under light. They look silver. They literally look silver. They're like silver with a black band on them. They are awesome.
That's awesome.
Like super flashy, like really awesome species to have. And then I have, I think it's Ronchus Guticolas, which is a kind of a medium-sized diving beetle. They're a little bit smaller than the other ones I had mentioned. But they're like a gold color, and the males kind of have black on their elytra. I meant what I'm getting next, but I always have to learn about them. All right, cool.
Yeah,
I didn't know. But yeah, I mean, and then of course there's the small diving beetles, and there's many different species of Lacophyllus and whatnot. I think we're gonna do sort of like a medley of those. We're gonna sell like random species of small diving beetles. So you kind of get to see what you get. But I've made a list, however, of all those different species so you can kind of look and compare and see what species you got, which is kind of cool.
That is cool. I can't wait to do that. I'm working on a spot in my critter room that has 2-tiered shelves right now. And I'm going to switch it to a 4-tiered shelf so that I can put up a bug tank because I can't wait.
You get a bug tank. Yeah. My next tank is going to be even larger than the 30-gallon. And
awesome.
And it's going to have what looks like a crashed spaceship in it.
Oh yeah, you were telling me about that.
I love the idea of like alien-looking bugs swimming around it.
Because especially I think it's the back swimmers when they're just hovering in the midwater, they just totally look like aliens, like alien ships.
Yeah, no, especially back swimmers, I'm going to have a lot more back swimmers in this. Again, I want to have the smaller ones. So I want to get the, that kind of that sponge to put up in the filter so they don't get sucked up there.
They don't get sucked up. A funny thing about, I guess it's not back swimmers, they're water boatmen, but you think of the Great Salt Lake. When you think of that, you think of brine shrimp because of course there are brine shrimp in it and there aren't any fish or anything like that. Nobody talks about this really, but there are a bunch of water boatmen, a small species of water boatman that lives in there and sucks up the algae and stuff that grows in there, and probably other detritus from the brine flies and the brine shrimp, dead brine flies, dead brine shrimp, pupal cases, whatever. They're in huge numbers in that lake.
What's so neat about the water boatmen, instead we talked about before, but maybe some people didn't hear, is that they're kind of like the isopods of an aquatic tank. They feed on all the detritus and fungus and algae and bacteria and whatnot. So, that's what's cool about them is that they kind of keep the entire tank clean. You can have a ton of those in there.
Yeah.
Can you keep diving beetles with fish? Ah, yes. Let's talk about this. I mean, communally, as far as them leaving each other alone, no. It's one of those things where the fish will bug the bugs, or vice versa, the insect will bug the fish. Definitely anything small in there. Any of the small diving beetles would get eaten up by fish, no problem. Um, Someone asked if they could put a pleco in the tank, and like you probably could, but it would, and the animal wouldn't die, and that animal wouldn't go after any of the aquatic insects that are in the tank. But those diving beetles would definitely feed off of that pleco. It would go after its fins, it would go after kind of flesh and whatnot. So it would really stress the animal out. It's just, to me personally, I just don't think you need fish in there. I mean, I guess if you had something really, really big, there are fish in these puddles with these animals, but they're definitely going to not fully get along as much as you'd hope.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Let's see. Here's a question from Jackson.
Oh yeah, snails are great for the tank. In fact, I'm looking into getting some of the larger ramhead snails. They do not bother, and any kind of smaller snail. They, like, I have a ton of those. I don't even know what species they are, but they're probably rather invasive because they breed like crazy. And the diving beetles will feed off of those little bitty snails that I have in there, but they breed so much that it doesn't really make a difference. It's actually good that they're doing that because it's keeping the population down. But any of the large snails, they completely ignore. They will not bother them at all whatsoever.
Okay, so let's talk about diet, the general things that you feed this tank, all the critters in the tank.
So it's kind of a variety of a lot of things. The main food that I put in here are these fish pellets, and I also put in frozen bloodworm, and pretty much everything's going to eat from those. All the diving beetles love it. The back swimmers will feed off of it as well. Even some of the fish pellets, the larger back swimmers will feed off of it. And so then, of course, a lot of the excrement that is created from that gets in the system, and then a lot of the water boatmen will feed off of that, which is what's kind of cool about this tank. But as far as stuff on the top, such as the Whirligig Beetles and also the large back swimmers, I throw fruit flies or the billions of house flies that invade my house here in Arizona. They end up in that tank once they get in my house quite quickly. So it's a constant war, but I win. So it's great. But so they'll feed off of that stuff. And then with my water scorpion, I will manually feed that quite often because I want to keep that thing fed so it doesn't feed on all of the other insects in there.
And you feed it crickets and roaches, you said?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. I just do it manually.
Oh, Disticus circumflexus, huh?
In Oregon, trying to ID the one I found yesterday. I will look at that species. I'm not familiar with it off the top of my head right now, but I will look at that species and I'll let you know, because I think you're right. I'm pretty sure that one is in Oregon. So, cool. But I'll look into that for you, Aaron, and I'll get back to you. We'll chat later. Plus, you need to get a water tank. It's time. I think you have some, but definitely need a big one. All right. Would any diving beetles be aggressive / vulnerable to newts? I haven't tried. I haven't tried any kind of amphibians with them. I'm going to assume that the diving beetles would probably leave the newt. I don't know. They might, but I know that some newts generally are going to move too quick for a diving beetle to really be able to feed on it. But yeah, I'm honestly not too sure of that. I have no idea what that would be. I think that newts would probably overall leave the diving beetles alone. Maybe not the small ones, but definitely the bigger ones. I can't imagine, unless it's like a large, like the rough-skinned or something like that. But generally, I think that actually might be okay. I'm not quite sure. I would have to try it. I haven't tried it yet, though. So
yeah, it's an interesting question, though.
Yeah. That's it, feeding on mosquitoes. Man, almost. I will throw mosquito larvae in there. I used to get this a lot on the video that I had. And they would say, oh, you got to be careful. What if you have mosquitoes grow out of there? Any mosquito larva in that tank is going to disappear pretty quick. They love mosquito larvae. All the diving beetles feed on them. All of the water boatmen I mean, not water. Not water boatmen. The back swimmers, the any of the naiads I have in there, everything will feed off of those mosquito larvae, and pretty quick.
So you've never had to worry about escapees because everything gets
no. And I did actually see something. Someone asked a question about them escaping. So I've had my 10-gallon tank for over a year, and I have not seen a single one get out or fly around my house, with the exception of a few mayflies that molted or whatever and came out and did their thing. But as far as the diving beetles and all that stuff, the thing is that it requires so much energy for these insects to fly in the first place. And so when they find a big source of water with a great source of food, they're not going to go anywhere. They're not going to go anywhere. However, you can view some videos online. There are makeshift ways of putting like mesh and kind of putting up like a top to where it can kind of block where your filter is so they can't get out if you're worried about that. There is ways to do that.
But in general, you're saying that as long as the beetle feels at home, it's not going to bother leaving.
It's not going to bother leaving. This animal found water. It's where it's at. It's not stressed out. It's and yeah. So I mean, they're just going to live there. I mean, like I said, I've had this tank for over a year. I haven't seen any flying around my house at all, period. I haven't had any issues with anything escaping, really. And it's never really been an issue. So I don't even worry about putting something up. If you want to get into things like naiads, dragonfly naiads and all that kind of stuff, I heavily monitor my tank, so I will notice when something is about to molt in that area, or, and crawl up on the top of like the cork bark I have in there and stuff. But that's a different story. Of course, those will eventually fly and they will try to get away. But generally, when I see those crawling up there, I'll put them in something else and let them do their thing. So
makes sense.
Just for Canada, I'm bug-eyed. There's probably no way they occur in the U.S. It didn't make it bug-eyed since. That's true.
Okay, well that makes sense then. Oh,
yeah, there are. It is mind-blowing how many different species of aquatic diving beetles are in Canada, and Canada alone.
That is interesting. I mean, they've got a lot of water up there, but
yeah. So water boatmen aren't going to hurt fish or any kind of shrimp at all. They aren't going to hurt anything you have in there. They are completely harmless. They literally just feed on, they're detrivores, or they feed on fungus and bacteria and whatnot. But no, I mean, the only thing that might hurt them would be the fish themselves if they're big enough. Yeah, but no, yeah, they're fine if you have them in there.
Okay. Well, looks like Aaron had some sunburst taken off.
Wow. I haven't had it happen once, not one time.
Maybe they know that there's a lot more water in Oregon available than in Arizona. I don't know.
Maybe. Maybe. Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, if you're worried about it, you could definitely, there are makeshift ways to block them off. I've seen a few videos. I thought about doing it, and I even might still do it just because I kind of want to just design it myself and make a video to show people how to do it. So,
yeah, cool. Let me. There was a couple of comments that I wanted to make sure we covered. Let's see. Oh, we've got another question that I want to make sure. Researching water crickets.
That'll be that's a new bug for me there. I have not tried water crickets yet, so I really don't know anything about them. That will be something I'll have to research. So I'll definitely have to check that out and see where I can find those.
Water crickets. That's interesting.
Yeah, that is very interesting.
I think those could be wrong, but I'm thinking that is a type of water strider.
Oh, okay.
It's just a nickname for a water strider. Partly, I looked at the name Velia, and it makes me think of the Velidae small water striders. So I'm wondering if it's connected. And I guess
that would make sense. I could see how they're kind of confused as crickets, sort of.
Yeah, because
my water striders do great. I've actually had the same water striders for over a year in my 10-gallon tank. They're awesome. Cool.
Oh, I just did a quick search, and yeah, it is the family Velidae. So it is it's the smaller family of water striders. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I was like, water cricket. I was like, I got to check this out. This is a new bug I haven't seen.
Yep, that's why I love the scientific name. Thank you, Theropod Hunter, for including it. That helped.
Right.
Okay, so did that help, Theropod Hunter, with your question? Just because I think when Jesse explained how he had them for over a year and just keeping them just like
they feed on flies when I throw them in there just fine. They love it.
We've got another question from Axjag Films, and I know that you know the answer to this question because you have one.
Yeah, you can definitely keep them if they're wild caught. They will survive just fine, and mine is a monster. He eats everything, man. like that thing will eat. It's that thing. I'll come out of my bedroom because it's kind of in the living room here, and when I come out of my bedroom in the morning, he'll perk up and like look at me like it literally wants to attack me all the time. I'm like, what are you gonna do, you know? But yeah, it's awesome. I love giant water bugs. I mean, they're like the truest alien in my opinion. Like,
oh yeah, they're fantastic creatures. I've found a couple of them. I've never really kept them. The first one I found bit me almost immediately when I picked it up. I was like 13, but I didn't know what was going on, and then I did. They bite.
Yeah, I actually, the first time I ever saw one, I was 6 years old, and I was standing about knee high in a pond, and one attached itself to my like leg, kind of my shin, and I don't think it bit or anything, but it scared the living crap out of me when I was like 6. Thing was so big, you know, and they got like spiny little legs. Their legs are, you know, those like front ones, you know, they'll hold on to you, you know?
Sideways mantis raptorial forelegs, and yeah, they're crazy.
Yeah, they're crazy.
And it hurt. That bite hurt for quite a while. It was not.
Yeah, I mean, I've been bit by one later on in life, and it's no joke.
Yeah, but they're super cool, and like you said, they'll eat anything. Do you find any preferred bugs that'll go after? It doesn't matter. Just anything.
I feed mine crickets or roaches, and they don't last long in that tank. You throw it in the water, and they'll vanish pretty quickly. So
cool. So. Zoomed's low boy, is that the Zoomed creatures tank, Frank? Like the one I've had velvet ants and desert beetles in. It's like a 5-gallon with a footprint of a 10-gallon, basically. I don't think that one is sealed for water. If that's the one you're talking about, I think the sealant used is not really water grade, so I wouldn't use it in that tank. Probably be better just to get a 10-gallon.
Yeah, I mean, I like. You know, you can get a low tank, which will work just fine as well. But I like having the tall tank for the depth. Personally.
Yeah.
I really want a cylinder tank that can go all the way around.
Yeah. I have a 54-gallon Bowfront tank, and it's got a couple of goldfish, and some plecos in it. But just think that would be a really cool one.
Yes, what are you doing? It needs bugs. No,
If I just can put the fish in a pond or something, because no, just kidding. I wouldn't do that. I totally wouldn't do that. Just full disclosure, everybody, I would never release them into a natural pond. That's a terrible idea, but I was joking. Please, nobody think I really meant that.
I don't think we're actually doing that.
Yeah.
And that was another thing is I've had a lot of people ask me about aquatic naiads, by the way, different dragonflies and whatnot. And, you know, if you're buying them online, a lot of people say, oh, well, can you just let them go? Well, I personally would not let go any bug that wasn't native to the area. So if you do get a dragonfly naiad from somewhere else besides your own backyard or your own swimming pool or whatever, definitely I recommend it just being a specimen in your collection more than letting it go. So,
right. It's important to make sure you're not spreading species to places they don't belong. So that's the responsible way to deal with it.
Right.
So I'm glad you brought that up. We were going to talk about that, and I'm glad you got to that. So let's see. Here's a question from 503.
But what do you recommend for bug to water ratio on the inch to gallon or like fit for fish about right? So honestly, you can have way more bugs than when you have fish together. You have to realize these insects are often crammed in very small pools, and they live just fine together all over each other. I have this tank will probably have close to 250 or so different water bugs. Well, just water bugs in general in it when I'm done with putting all the different species I plan on putting in there. And you won't even think it. You won't even think that it's like that sounds like a lot, but really there's plenty of room for them still, especially because most of them are going to be the small diving beetles and smaller insects, sort of like the cleanup crew on the bottom of the tanks. But, I do it generally on a 30-gallon tank. I have one, two, three, like 4 to 5 species of larger diving beetles, and I have 8 to 10 different ones of each species. So, and they do just fine.
Yeah. One thing that we were talking about earlier, it's important to realize, is that with fish, you're dealing with a lot of water quality issues potentially that are not going to affect bugs that are reliant on atmospheric air, because fish are going to be highly sensitive to ammonia, for example, because it's going to damage their gills and interfere with their respiration. A lot of these insects, not all, some of the insects do have gills in the larval stage and whatnot, but a lot of these adult insects like the beetles and whatnot, they're not subject to that. It's not going to be that much of an issue.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like when you cycle a tank. You want to cycle a tank, test the waters, and do all that stuff for fish. When I put together a tank, I like to leave it overnight just to let all the sediment and stuff fall, just so it looks nice and clear in the morning before I add.
Oh no, we lost you. I'll answer this question by Blue Lizard Jello while we're waiting for Jesse to come back. Are you back?
Oh,
we lost you for a minute. Are you there? I can still see you and hear you.
All right. I don't know if you heard me or not. But...
Darn, I can't hear you anymore.
Can you hear me?
Oh, now I can.
Okay.
Okay, I guess we're back. So Blue Lizard, just a quick answer there. I'm using StreamYard to do this. StreamYard, this is the free version of StreamYard. It'll allow you to do this with the questions. So yeah, hopefully that helps there. Okay, I'm catching up to see if there are any other bug questions that. Okay, we're cool. So I lost where we were because we got hosed there. Everything disappeared. So what were we talking about, Jesse?
I think. We were talking about like water levels and whatnot. So
yeah.
Like I said, when I put together a tank, the only reason why I leave it overnight without putting any bugs in it is because I like all the sediment to fall and all that kind of stuff, and the filter to start working and whatnot. But you're able to put the bugs in right away. It doesn't make a difference, and you can use whatever kind of water. You can just use tap water in there. It's not going to affect these insects. I mean, maybe certain things like mayfly larvae or like that kind of stuff.
They have actual gills essentially.
Yeah, but as far as diving beetles and backswimmers, they're all good to go.
Yeah, and anything on the Whirligig Beetles or those water striders, same thing. They're not going to be affected by it.
Yeah.
So I guess that's another reason why putting them with fish might not be so good, because you're going to be dealing with water quality issues potentially you don't need to deal with. You're just making it more complicated.
Yeah, a lot of people say, "Oh, I could put a betta in with them, because they don't really need the best water quality, I guess, or whatever." Even though I disagree, I think that you need to have good water quality for those fish. But those things those fins would be eaten immediately.
Oh yeah, it would immediately be a target. Yeah, definitely.
I just use the basic filter, but we were just talking about, we could put that link up here about using the sponge inside of the filter, kind of around the filter.
Let's see if I still have that. Here it is. Okay. Yeah, I do have it. I'll put it in.
I talked about this earlier before a lot of people were there, but in this bigger one, I don't have a lot of my smaller species of beetle in right now, because with the smaller 10-gallon tank, when I put the filter on the lowest setting, and it doesn't really hurt anything in the smaller tank, but in this bigger one, it definitely will suck up the little small diving beetles. Now, it doesn't kill them or anything. They love it in there. They're like, "Oh, this is great. There's tons of food in there and all kinds of algae and stuff." So they're like loving it. But I don't want them to be sucked up there. So I'm going to get the thing that I think you just mentioned. Yeah, this little sponge filter.
Yeah, and I just put a link to it in the chat there. I use this in tanks where I keep something that I don't want to be sucked up, something that's small. Like I put this in with my Tanganyika shell dwellers when I didn't want to get sand particles sucked up by the filter and things like that. So, or when I have small fry in a tank, I can use something like that. So it should help for this sort of situation. So arthropod ambassadors. Okay, so there are some larval insects that have, we could call them functional gills. They're not, analogous exactly to what fish have in, like, structurally, I guess, but functionally they are gills in, like, naiads of damselflies, dragonflies, mayflies. Other larval insects often have something of that sort, so they don't have to come to the surface. Yeah, caddisflies. So they don't have to come to the surface to breathe. And there are others. I think stoneflies are the same way, and I don't even know all the families that have those, but there are a lot of larval insects that have them.
One of my favorite larval forms I've had was the Dobson Fly. That thing was a monster, and that is not one you put in a small tank with other bugs. It will eat everything, literally. That's all it wants to do is eat, and then get big and molt, basically. So
wow, yeah, and those they are monsters as adults and monsters as larvae, but even more monstrous as larvae, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're huge. Oh, did I freeze?
Nope, I think you're good.
Oh, okay.
I don't think there are any insects that I can think of right now, and I could be wrong, of adults that have functional gills.
Not that I know of.
But we do have the insects that we already talked about that have trapped air bubbles that function like gills. So that it's not part of the animal's body, but they work as if they were gills, in that they allow the animal to get rid of carbon dioxide and bring oxygen into those bubbles they carry around. Some of the diving beetles do that. So I guess in a sense, it's kind of a self-renewing source of collecting oxygen.
Kind of, but they still definitely have to, a lot of them have to rise to the surface to pull that oxygen.
Right. So it extends the time between the times they have to surface.
Yeah. Now, long-toed water beetles, they do generate their own oxygen with the hairs on their back. They're like modified legs.
Mm-hmm.
So
which is kind of amazing
in a certain way. Yeah, I think that they sort of collect the oxygen off rocks and whatnot, but it generally basically generates their own.
Yeah, because as long as the bubble's sitting there, the CO2 is going to diffuse and the oxygen is going to collect. And with something with such modest oxygen requirements,
right?
Because it's small, it's cold-blooded,
those are fantastic in tanks because, like I said, they don't look like they even belong. They just kind of like bumble along on the bottom of the tank on the rocks, and it's like, what is? I've even had people say, "Oh, did a bug get trapped in there?" I'm like, no, that's actually a water bug. That's a water beetle. So
yeah, it's kind of amazing.
Have there been? Oh, let's see. Will diving beetles need a terrestrial area to surface of the water? Let's go to the one on top above that one real quick.
Oh, there's one on the top. Okay.
Yeah.
It's related.
Yeah, it is related. So yes, I have cork bark. I have 3 pieces of cork bark on the top of my 30-gallon tank, and I have 2 pieces in my 10-gallon tank. Things like the diving beetles and the scavenger beetles, which is another type of beetle, which is fantastic as well. Scavenger beetles, especially, they love being on the cork bark, and actually, they probably spend more time up there than they do even swimming in the water. But the diving beetles will get up there, and they like to dry their elytra and whatnot. And they chill under the light quite a bit. And I've even seen the back swimmers do it occasionally. And then that goes into the next question, which was, have there been any breeding of diving beetles or other water beetles? Yes. And diving beetles, and that's actually my next project. I'm going to start. I want to start breeding the banded diving beetles, the black diving beetles, and of course the sunburst diving beetles. So I want to start doing that on my own. But they do require land to do such. And they require kind of a sand kind of soil. And when they lay their eggs, they'll lay their eggs in sand soil. And then the larvae are aquatic, though. The larvae will immediately get in water. But the larvae will need to get back on land in order to pupate. So.
And you just mentioned you have at least one that is pupating right now, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I have one that it's chilling in sand. So.
Mm-hmm. And you've also bred, is it the water boatman? Is that the one we talked about?
Back swimmers and water boatmen both breed in the water, so they will lay their eggs. The water boatmen tend to lay their eggs in rock crevices, and the back swimmers definitely in plants. and they will regenerate their life in there. And they don't live very long. I mean, they only live like 5-6 months generally. So sometimes 8 months, just depending in captivity. But they generally are not as long lived as the water beetles are.
But it's super cool. They're already breeding in there for you. And
yeah, but they just they'll repopulate for you, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah. So Benjamin, we talked a little bit about fish before, but in general, small fish are not going to do well in a tank like this, right?
Yeah, I mean, having small fish and having small bugs is probably not too much of an issue as long as they can leave each other alone. But I just don't recommend it. I just think that that's two different worlds, personally. I mean, they do live together in puddles at times. You will get things like, mosquito fish or minnows or whatever, or minnows, but like, guppies and whatnot in puddles with them. But I definitely see them bothering each other quite a bit. And so I know from past experiences of when I put water bugs with fish that generally the water bugs would eat the fish. So,
yeah.
Can you hand feed them? I mean, you could. I use tongs and I give that to my water scorpion. I feed it. I feed it crickets or different smaller bugs, flies, roaches, that kind of stuff. But as far as pulling it out of the water, I probably would have no interest in eating if it was directly onto your hand, honestly. It would just want to get back in water. And same with diving beetles. They're just going to flip out if you pull them out of the water. They're going to jump away as fast as they can.
But if you were to hold a cricket by the legs, for example, and just hand offer it to your water scorpion, it would take it.
If you were to take a cricket by its leg and you were to put it right in front of the water scorpion, it would take it immediately. And the diving beetles, yeah. If you were to take a cricket and dip it in the water, all those bugs would be rushing after that thing, not even caring about your finger being there.
Probably the whirligig beetles too, right?
Oh yeah, and that's the thing. Like that, those things. If you have whirligig beetles, especially the large ones, those things are would be they eat quicker than anything else. Fastest bug in there. So. And they don't hesitate. Like every time I throw in a fly, like I throw in several flies because I want some other things to get some food besides the so
Yeah, I just can't. I can't wait to set it up. I want to see that. I want to do the multi-level thing, like you fill the tank halfway or 3/4 of the way, so you can see the whirligig beetles and the water striders or whatever combination I end up with on the surface, and see everything else hanging out on the lower levels. And
yeah, it's fun. I love it. I love watching it. I just take the top of the tank off a lot and just watch them swimming around most of the time. It's pretty sweet.
Oh yeah.
But like I said, the large ones, you can't have any other thing. Like water striders, like they go after everything that is also swimming on top of that water. Now the small whirligigs are great for tanks, especially for smaller tanks, and they don't harm them. There's these little. Peter was talking about them earlier. They're a little water strider, and they're really cool. They're really fast too. They actually kind of move a lot like whirligigs do, and those live just fine with the smaller whirligigs, and so do larger water striders. They tend to live just fine, but not with the big ones.
Do you recommend putting any sort of? You mentioned you have cork bark in both of your tanks. Do you recommend something like that specifically for the whirligig beetles and the water striders, or do they not need it?
No, they will. They'll get on top of that as well.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
Because I have a couple of small, 3-gallon critter keepers. I'm wondering about doing some whirligigs and maybe some water striders and something like that. Because I have space for that right now. And that would be
the ones that, the little water striders are validated.
Yeah,
that's sweet. They're really cool.
Yeah, those are the ones I was thinking about. That in that with the smaller water striders and some of those maybe.
Yeah, I had like 3 or 4 of them, but don't know if that's already. But good plants for aquatic tanks. Oh, here's a good question. This is a good question. So, a lot of plants that are very stringy, that tend to have little round leaves and those kind of plants that like to overhang and whatnot, they'll get eaten. Like the water scavenger beetles and even some of the diving beetles will feed on those specific ones. So I switched those out and I put different kinds of ferns in my tank, and I just got a few of them online, and they don't get fed on. The ferns are left alone completely, and so do these. I don't remember the name off the top of my head. I have the thing, but some of these bigger leafed ones are just fine.
You have some Java ferns in.
Yeah, Java ferns.
I remember seeing that. It looked like you had maybe some cryptocorini. Is that true?
You know, I will grab. Hold on one second.
Oh, and Theropod Hunter, the Semi-Aquatic Scholopendra. Yeah, I believe the species is Cataracta, Scholopendra cataracta. And I believe it's an Asian species of Scholopendra that is indeed
that would be incredible. I do not have one.
But they are fantastic looking. I've seen videos of them hunting. They're wild.
So the kind of the fatter leaf stuff is called the Compacta Amazon. It's Echinodrus or Doris.
Oh yeah, the sword plant.
Yeah. And then I have Java ferns, and then I have a Malaysian red plant, which are those really tall leaves that are kind of in the tank. And
cool.
So, yeah. But the native stuff, I just grabbed some stuff that was kind of native, and even like the kind of like it almost looked like moss that was in the tank. I don't know what it's called exactly. That stuff got eaten really quickly. So
any kind of soft plants they tend to go after.
Yeah.
Did you have was it water lettuce you had at the surface, or duckweed, or?
I didn't put duckweed in there, but that's just because that would just overtake the tank, in my opinion.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of duckweed in tanks generally because it just goes crazy.
Yeah. I'm sure you can have it in there, but you wouldn't really have a lot of whirligigs in there or anything.
Right. And that kind of defeats the purpose. So, yeah, I like water lettuce in a tank because you can control it a lot more easily.
Yeah. The plants I have in here are doing great. And once I put these, I have some Java ferns and a few of these plants in my smaller tank. And I've had those in there for months and months, and they haven't been bothered at all. So
micro hairgrass. I wonder if that one would be eaten because it tends to be a little softer, the micro hairgrass.
The one thing I notice is the leafier the plant, like if it's like a solid leaf, they tend to leave it alone. But things that are like really small, kind of like stringy kind of stuff with small buds on them or small leaves on them, they get eaten pretty easily.
So it sounds like micro hairgrass would probably be eaten then.
Probably. Yeah.
But yeah, Java fern is a tough plant that's just, you use it even with fish that'll eat plants. A lot of times they'll leave it alone, except the really crazy fish that will eat anything. They'll eat it anyway. But and I bet you could do a Nubius in a tank like that. They'd probably be fine because it's a tougher plant too.
Yeah, no, the Java ferns do great, and so does the red plant. The red plants in there are terrific. They're really leafy. They're going to get bigger too. They're going to actually grow up to the top of the tank, which I'm really excited about.
That'll be really cool.
Yeah.
I love the setup. I'm going to put it up again just so the people who haven't seen it yet need to be able to see it. I love the scape you've done with it, with the rocks and the plants and everything.
It's the bugs will tend to hide quite often, but when you have enough bugs in there, it really doesn't matter. As you can see, they're all over the place in the tank. But I love putting rock crevices in there. You know, when you give these, especially if you have predators in the tank, giving a lot of options for a lot of these insects to hide is really ideal, because then they're going to survive from those things a lot easier, of course.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, Aaron has a good question.
So I've seen several. I've seen back swimmers, water boatmen. In Oregon, I used to get these little water boatmen at my lights all the time. But I've also seen. I actually just my Hydrophilus, which is the giant scavenger beetle in here. I found that at a light, and those will fly at lights as well. The giant water bugs will fly at lights sometimes. A lot of the diving beetles. I've caught both sunburst and banded diving beetles at lights at night. Same with the Ronchus artricolor, which are the large black ones, and Borosis. They are a really cool scavenger beetle. They kind of look like a cucumber beetle. They're kind of green and spotted, and you can find those a lot at lights as well. And those are terrific for the tank, the scavenger beetles, because they'll feed on all the detritus as well, and they'll also feed on bloodworm and fish pellets as well. They'll eat pretty much anything, but they don't eat anything living.
Cool. Sorry about we lost the screen for a little while, and it looks like it's back. For some reason, when I tried to add the live cam to the screen, it wasn't working. Not sure what's going on there.
Is it good now?
Let me check. No, it's still black screen. But thanks to those who let us know. We'll try it again in a minute and see if it pops back on, but I don't want to do solo layout for a black screen.
Right. I have a lot of videos, by the way, on my Instagram and on my TikTok about these tanks. So.
And they blow me away. I'm not on TikTok very often, but I'm on Instagram, and I love to see Jesse's posts because it's fantastic. And the quality of the videos is not like we're getting some issues with bandwidth and stuff, so you're not getting the full effect of the tank here. But please, everyone, if you haven't seen him already, and even if you have, because he's always posting new stuff, go check out Shapes of Nature on Instagram and or TikTok. It's awesome.
Yeah, I'm going to be doing a whole series of videos for this new tank. I mean, I've only had this new tank for about a week or so. So the small one I've had for quite a long time. So there's tons of videos of that one.
Right. It was 2 or 3 weeks ago. I was looking at it and saw you had a bunch of, I think they were back swimmers, just all hovering in the water column, and they just looked like spaceships.
Yeah.
And it just blew my mind.
I love them. Yeah. The back swimmers, the smaller species is better to get, in my opinion. The bigger ones, are really cool. They're really pretty. They have these like really cool red backs on them and stuff. But they're voracious eaters.
Oh yeah. No, what just happened?
Oh, I don't know if I'm back or not.
Oh, I think you are.
So yeah, what I was saying is the back swimmers, the smaller species are actually really good to get. The larger ones are great for larger tanks, but if you get the larger ones in smaller tanks, they will hunt after the smaller diving beetles and whatnot. And they can't go after any of the larger stuff. They'll go after anything small for sure.
Yeah, so it's risk management again, as we were talking about before.
Yeah, I mean that's really, for me, I kind of like having predators in the tank because it really gives a natural aspect of a pool. And it's not like it's any different. These insects are in spaces smaller than a 10-gallon tank, and you're going to have tons of different bugs, including predators within it as well. And it's really like looking into its natural life and into a natural pool, which is what's super fun about it. And that's why I like to put a lot of hiding spaces. A lot of people are like, oh, I want to see them more. Well, if you have enough bugs in there, you're going to see the bugs swimming around quite often. But having a lot of nooks and crannies and hiding spots is just going to make everything a lot more comfortable in that tank.
Right. And it gives that other aspect, like you were saying, like you won't necessarily see the creeping water bugs every time you look in there. But when you do, it's awesome because, hey, I get to see them now. And every time you look in, it's going to be something different.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I love about my naiads. They kind of come in and out of the rocks, Mm-hmm. And so in order to reproduce, they have to have land with substrate, or does it happen in water? Okay, well, that depends on the bug. So with water beetles, any of the diving beetles, yes, they need to have land. They need to have land to lay eggs, and you want to have like kind of a sand substrate kind of with them. And so as soon as the eggs hatch, the larva will go back into the water. But when they need to actually pupate, they will get back on land. So you definitely, if you're trying to breed them or raise the larvae themselves, you have to have a land surface, and not just cork bark. You want to have something that it can burrow in. Otherwise, it could pupate on cork bark, but every other bug in there is going to eat that thing while it's trying to pupate. So
right, good point, because you can provide ideal conditions for pupation, but you can't necessarily protect them. So it's something you want to do separately.
But then things like the water striders. Well, the water striders will lay their eggs on the edge of the cork bark often, so you will get little water striders and whatnot just in your tank alone. But things like the back swimmers or water boatmen, they will reproduce in the water in your tank itself. So
it's so cool that so many different species can be bred, and that there's more interest in it now, and we're going to get this happening.
And there's so many different species. Gosh, I started looking on Bug Guide, which if you haven't been to bugguide.net, that's the place to check out stuff. And I tell you, I can't believe how many different species there are. And just, even just in the United States, like I want to travel now and just go find a bunch of cool water bugs and breed them. Like, you know, like.
Yeah, it is. It's so fun to just see what's out there. And it seems like, as with other things, Arizona is a great place to find a wide variety of aquatic bugs, just like it is with terrestrial bugs. But it does seem like there are places where you can find stuff you can't find in Arizona that you can find in Canada, like you said, or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, we are a little spoiled down here in Arizona, and Peter and I are going to work hard on making sure we have the cattle tank set up and all the breeding options set up to make sure that we can get these out to people, because they are amazing bugs down here. So, you know.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Jackson needs a bug road trip. Yeah.
Come on down, Jackson. It's time.
Yep.
Which actually is a great time to plug Sky Island Adventures, by the way.
Definitely.
Bugs in Cyberspace, Peter and I, we have a really awesome business called Sky Island Adventures. It is a Airbnb excursion. You come down here, we take you around. Any bug you want to look for, we'll go look for it with you. It's a great time. We'll take you out to great spots, have a good time, drink beers.
It was fantastic. I went last year, just about a year ago. It was a little over a year ago, and it was amazing. And I can't wait till I go back next time.
Oh yeah, it's been a blast. It's seriously. I mean, Peter and I love it just as much. You know, like we're having a great time.
Oh yeah, yeah. Every time I see the posts you guys are making about it, it's got to get out there again.
Yeah, we go during the day and we go at night. So I generally do the day shift. I'm generally the going out on the adventure, and Peter does all the black lighting and whatnot. And I mean, that's when you're going to find most of the bugs, is definitely at night. But I love the adventuring aspect as well, because Arizona is absolutely beautiful. So, and you will find tons of bugs no matter what. So
yeah, during the day we found tons of things when I was there, and it was even not all of the days that I was there were ideal. Some days were raining too hard and stuff. We still found a bunch of cool stuff during the day and at night.
Yeah,
even with that going on. It was,
and like half the time, you know, I'm like, I'm just gonna go at night as well, because I just want to go blacklight anyways, you know. So, I mean, is it really even work? I mean, you know, let's be honest, you know.
Yeah, it's so fun. Can you even? You found aquatic spiders?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, there's these really cool spiders that we get that literally they like glide across the water. And in fact, that's something I want to put in one of my tanks, one of my newer tanks that I get. I want to look at keeping those. Of course, more than anything, I want a bell spider, but I don't know where to get those.
Yeah, those are super cool. Those are super
cool. Oh god, but the spiders we have down there are so cool. It's insane. They glide across the water. You know, like
is it like
they're like a water spider, but a spider?
Is it like the Dolomites fishing spiders, like you can find in
Texas? There are. It's a wolf spider though. There's like this little speckled wolf spiders and all kinds of stuff.
Interesting.
But yeah, I mean, there are fishing spiders.
Yeah, I would find when I was a kid, I'd visit my grandma in Texas, and these fishing spiders are gigantic. And they would go on the surface of the water and grab stuff from on top of the water, grab stuff from under the water, had powder blue stripes on them. They were so cool looking and huge. Yeah. Like as big as, approximately as big as like a Hogna carolinensis. They were huge.
Yeah. Well, remember when we were out, it was raining and we were out near the grasslands, and Peter brought it up. He says I can still picture in that transparent poncho in the rain. When you found that wolf spider in its burrow, like underwater, like staring at us underwater.
Yeah, it was like an inch underwater in the burrow, looking straight up at us. You could see its eyes. So cool. I got that on video too. If you all haven't seen that, I think Peter got it on a video too. There are clips of that same spider in both of our videos.
Can you hear me?
Now I can. You disappeared for a second, but you're back. And
I request
I don't know,
503 large centipedes though.
You just have to not go looking for them, I guess. We found a couple when I was out there.
You know, there's no promises, but we will do our best to make sure that you don't witness them. Maybe I'll scoot in a cup real quick, get it out of the way for you.
Oh, Mantis got it. I found a velvet ant yesterday on my driveway. but it was a Timula rather than a Dasimutilla, and I don't like to keep those because I don't seem to be able to keep the Timulas alive, so I don't anymore. I don't try.
I am blown away by the amount of velvet ants down here.
I know.
There's so many species. It's insane. Like, insane.
Yes. I have never seen the diversity of velvet ants that I saw down there when I was there. And I know when we went, it wasn't even a particularly good day for velvet ants. And I still saw more species in like 30 minutes than I had seen in my life.
Yeah, it's insane. I love it. It's incredible.
It's fabulous. And velvet ants are one of my favorite. Oh, yeah. Peter was talking about that.
I saw something from Arthropod ambassadors. Jesse, any new T-shirts designs in the making?
Oh.
Yes, actually. Yeah. So for a lot of people that don't know me, I actually run a website called shapesinnature.com. I'm an artist, and I make stuff that helps wildlife. It also helps different conservation efforts and whatnot. And so I make T-shirts, stickers, buttons, pins, all that kind of stuff through all the different animals I draw. And I finally found a new T-shirt person here that's local, and I'm going to start going with them to make shirts. And I'm going to be doing a mantis shirt pretty soon. I know you'll be excited about that, Aaron. It's going to have 6 different mantids on it. I'm just have to finish 2 more of the drawings, and then I'm going to do an amphibian shirt pretty soon.
Cool.
So.
Yep, I asked for your Vinegaroon design T-shirt for my birthday, but my wife was like, I don't know if I want a shirt that has a Vinegaroon on it in my house.
Oh, come on.
She loves your art. She loves your art. She's just not super comfortable with the Vinegaroon. So.
Oh, those are like my favorite. That's hands down my favorite arachnid. I love Vinegaroons.
They're fantastic. I miss Vinegaroons. I need to get some more at some point when I have more space. They're very cool.
Yeah, this is actually one of my shirts right here.
Let's see if I can.
It's my Bumblebee shirt. It's one of my designs. It's one of my older ones.
Oh, it's not showing up. Darn it, it froze. I can hear you, but I can't see it.
Well, it's just the one I'm wearing. But it is what it is. Yeah, you can go to the website. There's a ton of them. Ton of different shirts.
Yeah, there's some great stuff there. Oh, this is funny. I gotta put this up here.
I saw someone that asked if we've seen any Sasquatch down there, and I was just going to comment. Only when I first wake up in the morning is when you're going to find Sasquatch out here. All right.
Oh, do you ship your shirts to Canada?
I do ship to Canada. I think I have a base price on there. Shipping is, I think it's about $15 or something like that. Unfortunately, it's kind of expensive because it's pricey to ship out of the United States right now. But I do have it. I do have an option if you sign up, and there'll be when you put your address in, it'll automatically update the proper shipping.
Cool. Speaking of your shirts, one that I really love too. I personally have 2 of your shirts. I have the Sea Dragon one, and I have the I'd rather be bug hunting one. And my wife has the Sea Dragon one too, and she loves it. One really nice thing about the I'd rather be bug hunting one is I can wear it almost anywhere, and it's true.
And it's true every day. It's true every day.
There's not a day goes by when it's not true. So
funny story about that shirt. When I first was putting it together, I had people go, "Are people going to buy that?" And I go, "I don't care. I'm making this for me." Like, you know, but if people want to buy it, go for it. And it's one of my #1 selling shirts.
Oh yeah. Well, as soon as I saw you wearing it, I thought I need that shirt. So that's what I asked for my birthday, and I got it.
It's a good shirt.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be doing another run of that. I might update different designs on it. I might put some of my newer insect and arachnid designs on the shirt. But I haven't decided whether if I'm going to do that or not. Probably.
That would be cool.
It'll still say the same thing.
Another excuse for me to buy another version of it.
Right. Collect the whole set, guys.
See, we're back. Check it out. Is the tank working now? Can anybody see it? I can see it, and then the beetles are moving. The water's moving.
I can't, but that's because I have the world's worst internet.
Okay, let's see what anybody else says here and see if it's working.
start trying to feed the animals when I'm stuck staring at the screen. Oh, cool. Yeah, good.
Yeah,
I'm glad
it looks like it's working. You see it. Okay, excellent.
Well, and someone said, Jackson said, need a full invert themed wardrobe. Hey, I got you covered, Jackson. I got Stag Beetle, Goliath Beetle, Vinegaroon. I got more coming. So
excellent. It's working. Cool. I wish that you all could see this tank in real time, but it's still pretty cool. I mean, I'm looking at the beetles. I can see some Sunburst diving beetles that I can recognize as Sunburst diving beetles going by. Some of the bigger, darker ones. Frank, yes, sorry, you do hear a microwave. It's okay. Okay. Aftech wanted to know about how many shirts you can buy on the same shipping.
Well, ordering 50, it would cost a little bit more, but it would definitely cost more because of the weight. It really just depends on the weight.
Okay, but you could
generally up to 4 or 5 shirts are going to cost you about $15-$20 shipping.
Nice. Not bad at all.
Anything from there, it's going to go up in price.
Okay. That's quite reasonable. So, yeah, that works.
Yeah. But hey, you want 50 shirts? I'll make it work. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, it finally loaded for me. But then again, I could just look behind me and stare at it. So
yeah, you can see it in better resolution too. Okay, cool. Millipede shirt. Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's definitely going to happen. I'm definitely going to do some cool millipedes. I'm going to do a Scholopendra shirt here pretty soon. Scholopendra Heroes.
Nice.
And the Mantis shirt. That was mainly the Mantis shirt is both for Aaron and low heat. So
cool. Oh, the giant water bug and water bummer. Yeah.
Giant water bugs are so cool. You could definitely not have them communally, though. They'll eat everything. But they even go after the small stuff. Like, I thought maybe because they're big enough, they would leave alone, like, the little stuff. No. They'll go after the small diving beetles. Doesn't matter. I put a giant water bug in one of my tanks when I first was starting to do these, and everything else tended to vanish pretty quickly. And then I just had one big giant water bug in my tank.
Wow.
Yeah, it was. So now Lurch, my giant water bug, he lives alone, and he likes it that way. He's fine with it.
Oh, that's not how I wanted to do this. Sorry, I wanted to do like that. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think the giant water bugs are so. I don't know. They remind me of a mantis mixed with an assassin bug, but instead of like
You're talking about
they're dorsally flattened.
The water scorpions, yeah.
Well, the water scorpions is like the long skinny version.
Yeah.
And the giant water bug is like the flattened wide version, the super wide model.
Yeah, you're right. It's true. But also a lot of people don't ever think about creeping water bugs. Now, creeping water bugs are awesome because they have the attitude of a giant water bug, but they're the size of a dime.
Cool.
And they'll feed on soft-bodied insects mainly, but they'll leave all the water bugs alone. Even the smaller ones, they'll generally leave alone. They can't really feed on them because of the how hard they are. But they'll feed on bloodworm that you put in the tank just fine, and any of the flies that fall in there or anything like that. So cool. They're really cool. The creepers are awesome. I love creepers. I very much advocate for them. I think they're an amazing addition. They like to hide, but when they do come out, it's always so rewarding because they just kind of swim around and they're really active. So,
and they look a lot like a small version of a giant water bug, right?
Yeah, they literally look like a tiny one.
Okay.
And they pack a bite too. I picked one up with my bare hands.
Oh,
and thinking it would be fine because they're little. No, that thing packed one heck of a bite on my thumb.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Will they They'll demolish a Daphnia colony? I'm not so sure giant water bugs would do that. Those are pretty little. Things like, seed shrimp and stuff, they would leave alone, or like ostracods. So, yeah, I'm not so sure about Daphnia.
Okay.
I haven't tried it, though, but no. And then have you thought about adding larger size selections in the shirts? Yes. So the new person I'm going through has options for larger sizes. So that's actually the reason why I've been kind of switching over. I wanted to get larger sizes for people. So
awesome.
Yeah, I think it would go up to 4 to maybe even 5x. So pretty stoked about it. Do you know where to get aquatic isopods? I mean, most of those would be saltwater, which I don't have. I've always wanted a giant isopod, though. I got to hold one once, and it was like a puppy, but
That
isopod.
is so cool.
A giant hairless puppy with a lot of legs. They're so cool. They are. I've always wanted one, and someday when I get the time, I definitely want to dive into saltwater inverts.
Mm-hmm.
But there's not a lot of insects that are saltwater.
That's true. Not going to get a whole lot there.
But there are some diving. There are actually some diving beetles that will live in salt water.
Cool.
Thanks for stopping by, John.
Yeah, thank you. Well, as far as aquatic isopods, I went to what's it called? It's called the Great Salt Lake Shorelands Reserve, I think it's called. It's just like 15 minutes from my house because I live close to the Great Salt Lake. And there are some fresh/brackish springs, depending on seasonality and water, rainfall, and all these things that changes whether it's fresh or brackish. There were isopods, fully aquatic isopods living there in the freshwater area.
Oh, that's cool. And
I took some video of it because I wanted to put it on my channel, and my phone totally died and ate everything. I had to reset it, and hard reset it, lost all the footage. But I have collected those isopods before and bred them. The first isopods I kept and bred when I was about 13 were those aquatic isopods. Looked like the same species.
How long do they live?
And I'm not sure what the lifespan was on them, but they were breeding in my tank.
Cool.
So
I need to find some of those.
Yeah, they were very cool. I was going to ask you if you thought they'd do okay in there. I'm sure some of the things we try to eat them.
I bet those would be just fine in the tank.
Yeah, because they're good at hiding, and they're good at the little ones get down in the interstices in the gravel and stuff. So I'm sure that you could get a population going if in a big tank like that.
Yeah, no, they. In what general area are you streaming from? Either computer or bandwidth? Not great. Yeah, it's probably mine. I have the worst. I live in the middle of nowhere in Arizona, and I have terrible bandwidth. I mean, like my Mbps is like 2.5. No joke. It's actually, I'm not exaggerating. That's like literally how terrible it is. So I do apologize if it's slow.
Yeah. And the last time we did a test run, it actually worked much better than this version for whatever reason. You were saying that maybe it was the cloudy skies may have had an effect and caused problems. But
yeah,
for these isopods that I was talking about, they lived in 100% fresh water. I think they can handle brackish, but they lived in 100% fresh water in the tank, and they were fine, totally fine, breeding in that tank. I didn't even know what I was doing so much. I was 13 and I had kept tanks before, but it was like my third aquarium or something at that time, and they were doing fine in it. So if I could get a hold of them again, I bet that I didn't collect any, obviously, because this is a reserve. I'm not going to collect anything, but I've heard of some other places that are not reserves where I can collect them. So I'm going to try it, see how it goes. They just
yeah, I need some, Russ. You need to get some and then send me some because I need.
Yeah. I need to figure out a good place and check out some of these places I've thought about and see if I can get some, because they get big, fairly big. Surprisingly long. The adults are probably 3/4 of an inch to an inch long, the bigger ones, but they're thinner than normal isopods and flatter, and then their tail looks like a lobster tail. They're really cool.
Oh, what?
Yeah, it's got like
100% need these.
They're super cool looking, super cool. And so I got to see if I can get some going. If I can, that'd be awesome. So,
someone said here, while not bugs, crayfish are fun. Now, for me, I just think a crayfish is some kind of giant bug. I mean, like, it's an arthropod. And we had a crayfish. Peter and I had one for about a year in his tank.
Yeah, I think I've never seen that.
The thing with crayfish is they do get pretty big, and they like to wreck the bottom of the tank. So anytime you have anything set up, if you have something set up nicely, if you have a crayfish in there, don't plan on it being set up very nicely for very long, because they'll dig burrows and move rocks and all that kind of stuff. So
they are like little bulldozers for sure.
Right.
They are, but yeah, the 2 cams I think is making it a little bit more difficult for us at Jesse's. I think so.
Do you want to take down the live cam and see how that works better?
Should I kick it off and see what happens? We'll try it. Kick it off. We can always add it later if it doesn't make a difference or something. Let's see. Aaron had a question somewhere. I'm not going to catch all the questions, but aquatic myriapods. There's that semi-aquatic Scholopendra cataracta. That's the one that I know of that is most aquatic, but it's only semi-aquatic. But it does legitimately swim very well, hunts and feeds underwater. So that's cool. Yeah,
no, that's I haven't seen one of those yet, so that's one I got to find.
Yeah, and I think it's Asian. I think it lives in Asia somewhere. I don't remember where, but I've seen videos of them diving into water on purpose to hunt. Pretty cool.
So cool. Oh my gosh, a centipede. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, centipedes just fascinate me anyway. So
Russ, warm me up a hot pocket in your microwave.
Yeah, I think my daughter was cooking something in the microwave, and
oh man,
you could hear it.
Hot pockets all around, guys. Let's get some pizza bites while we're at it too. Why not?
Yeah. So, I'll if I am able to get some going, I'll see what I can do, because that would be cool if we could get some more in the hobby. It used to be easier to find them. Like Carolina Biological Supply used to carry them and stuff. I don't know what's going on with them now. But oh wow,
there was 40 hours.
48 hours and didn't die.
How crazy!
That's
crazy.
That's pushing aquatic life there. If you can stand 48 hours submerged, you have some claim to aquaticity.
You can have one for 2 days. You know?
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. Yeah,
that's incredible.
Yeah,
semi-aquatic. Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, I wish I could survive that long underwater. I would have a claim to some interesting talents if I could do that.
Yeah, no joke.
I guess
I really want to look into different fishing spiders and seeing if they could successfully, like, I know you'd have to have some partial land, of course, for those things. But being able to set up a tank to be able to have those, and then also have an aquatic bug tank at the same time, would be a really fascinating thing to have. So, it's something I want to look into at some point. And
I've heard of people keeping the Dolomites fishing spiders just terrestrially, but that seems like it would be a lot more fun if you had a pool for them and they could use it.
Yeah, that would be an interesting tank. It'd probably have to be a fairly large tank, though.
Yeah, they're big spiders.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can never say the name right. Like Okefenokee.
Oh, no, the Okefenokee fishing spider, I think it is. There's one of them. I don't know what species I saw in Texas, but it was gigantic and beautiful and scared the heck out of me at the time.
Yeah, I don't know where it is. It's somewhere way up there.
I think there's several different spideys.
You hear me?
Yeah, you're back.
Am I around? All right, guys, I can't stall anymore. I have to feed the animals.
I can hear you now. This is an excellent request. I think we have to honor this.
In my Attenborough voice. Oh gosh, giant water bugs. Let's see, hold on here. Give me a moment here. Let me plan out the what I want to say. It's a carnivorous giant found deep in Arizona. And it's a killer. The giant water bug will spend most of its time feeding on anything it will find, including your toe. How was that, Peter? Was that pretty good? Was that a good one?
I love it. That was worth the entire stream right there. Oh, Yep.
I don't remember what video we did. I think it was like a cactus or something like that that we weren't looking at. I started talking about a cactus. I don't even remember.
Oh yes, you should work that into the Sky Island trips. We just say we have a special guest, David Attenborough is coming to join us for a few minutes.
Just go up, dye my hair white. I mean, it's coming in there. So it's all good. It's all good.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be awesome to have a. Yeah, that would be really cool. That would be really cool. I would love to create something like that. You know,
oh yeah,
definitely. Like, for instance, toad bugs. We sell those occasionally. Toad bugs are awesome. They're a semi-aquatic hemipteran. They look like a little bitty toad. They feed really well. They're super terrific in tanks. They definitely need a lot more humidity and wetness. You generally find them on the edge of like riverbanks or lakes and ponds. Mm-hmm. And that would be a great bug to have kind of on land with
great
those.
option.
And you can sometimes swim. So
yeah, that sounds awesome. I hope Frank the Tank caught the David Attenborough impression, like Peter was saying.
His DA, dude. Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well,
let's see. Oh,
that would be one. Bombardier beetles.
Bombardier beetles.
Also, Clenius. All those really cool, like colorful ground beetles would be neat to have in a tank like that.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see which isopods would do well in there, because some isopods, if there's a water feature, they'll just throw themselves into it and drown.
True.
But others will not. So, okay. I don't think there are very many that are a good option.
I wouldn't recommend. I mean, again, depending on the size of the fish, you could do some of the smaller diving beetles maybe. The larger ones, it just depends on how fast the fish are. You know, the larger ones might do okay. The larger diving beetles, sunburst diving beetles might do pretty well in there. It's something I really haven't tried a whole lot, honestly. I just don't personally recommend keeping fish with the arthropods, honestly. Yeah,
that makes sense. And just to go back to circle back to the isopods that I kept them with fish for a decent amount of time. And then I put some newts in that aquarium, and then I didn't have any more isopods. The newts just munched them. So
yeah. Yeah, put one of those in there.
If you want
if you want a very well-fed giant water bug, that's what you do.
Yeah. Then you can just remove the words tropical, fish, and community, and you'll still have giant, water, and bug.
And bug, yeah. Yep. With no fish. Dragon and damselfly naiads, yeah, those are super fun. I have 2 damselfly naiads and a dragonfly naiad in my tank right now, and they are terrific. And they feed really well off of frozen bloodworm, by the way. So they will, they'll the damselfly not so much, but the dragonfly naiad does go after some of the other bugs, but they really only go after the soft-bodied stuff. But they love the bloodworm I put in there. So
yeah, that sounds like a perfect setup. There's a good way to put it too. Giant water bugs are communal with water.
Water, yes, they are. They
will
sure
coexist with water safely.
Lurch loves water, and I mean he loves being with other bugs, especially when he's hungry.
The feeling is just not mutual.
Yeah, he loves it. Yeah. I would like to do like a very large tank, like get something like 100-gallon tank or something crazy, and then put in a giant water bug, because yes, it will go after some stuff, but at least those things will have a lot of space to get away from it.
Oh yeah. Oh, can we see Lurch? Is that a possibility?
No, he's kind of no, I was thinking about it, but I'm going to kind of let him stay in his tank right now. He's in a different tank that I don't want to try to bring over here, because all the lighting fixtures are all set up and whatnot.
Okay.
But I will have videos of Lurch on my Instagram. So
cool. Yeah, I think watching him do just about anything would be awesome. They're just really imposing bugs.
They're cool. I mean, like I said, you should definitely get one. If you want to get a giant water bug, you should definitely get it. I just don't recommend them communally.
Yeah.
You know.
I had one, speaking of the, Aaron was asking about bugs that show up at lights. I had one show up at my bus stop because there's no water anywhere near the bus stop, but it just showed up at the lights because I'm usually there early in the morning, and it was summer, and I was there very early in the morning, and the street lights were still on, and it showed up and just landed there, and I thought, oh, I don't have a collection cup. I feel like an idiot, and that's how it ended. But it was awesome.
Yeah, when I lived in California, actually, I remember one time I saw like 20 of them at a light one time. They were all just landed right on the ground. There were so many of them. It was awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah, the Abetus, ferocious water bugs are cool too. They're smaller. Now, ferocious water bugs, if you have a very large tank, you could probably have them be a little bit more communal than the giant water bugs. But again, you would want a large tank. You know, they're about half the size of the giant water bug. They're still cool though.
Yeah,
and they are voracious eaters.
Are they any more ferocious than the giant water bugs, or about on par with them?
They're about on par.
Okay. Just like the economy version.
Y'all make my wallet hurt every stream. I want every animal to mention. McGee, it's time you got a water bug tank. It's time.
Yeah.
What?
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, you know, I really cannot recommend it enough. These have been my favorite tanks I've ever owned as far as activity, as far as if you want a really active tank. You know, what's cool about, you know, like desert beetle tanks are really neat because they're really active and you see a lot of stuff crawling around all the time. But that's one flat layer. That's the bottom layer, and that's about it for a desert beetle tank. For this tank, you have top, middle, and bottom. You have all these layers coming together as one, and it's just really awesome to see everything. And you can look in all the nooks and crannies, and things are hiding, and it's just super fun. I absolutely love it. Get a 10-gallon. If that's you have room for, get it. It's absolutely fine. My main tank that I had before this big one is only a 10-gallon tank, and I have close to 100 different insects in that thing.
Yeah, so you have a lot of options. Just stay away from the bigger, more carnivorous stuff, and you'll be okay.
Yeah. But all the species of diving beetle are fine. Back swimmers, you know, water boatmen. Yeah, I love the desert beetle tanks. Someone said that. I love my desert beetles. Yeah, they're so cool.
Oh yeah, me too.
They're so cute, man. I don't know, something about those little blue death feigning beetles that are just adorable.
They're like little blue arthropod tortoises.
Oh yeah, they're so cool.
Yeah, I get a huge kick out of mine. So, McGee, are you talking about the beetle tank or the aquatic tank?
So if you're talking about the aquatic tank, no, I don't have a heater for mine. It's just like in the wild. And these insects live, especially down here, they will live. You can find them in ponds and all kinds of stuff during the winter. Actually, I tend to find that they are more active in fall and winter, even than they are in the summer. And so even colder weather is fine. If you're living in a really cold climate, like if you live, you know, in places like Canada or you know, Alaska or something like that, that's like really cold, then I would recommend probably having a heater that would be in the water just to kind of keep things comfortable. You know, if you're talking about things that get below zero, but that's if your house is getting that cold. If you have a heater in your house, it's going to do just fine at room temperature.
Right. And the low flow filter is going to be a good option, but generally you just turn it down to the lowest setting.
Yeah, in my 10-gallon tank, because it's a small filter, it's not that powerful. I have it on low, and it doesn't bother anything. Now that this one is bigger, it has a much larger filter, so even in the lower setting, it tends to like to suck up the smaller diving beetles. That's about all it sucks up. But like I said, they don't die in that thing. They actually love living in there because they get a bunch of food in there all the time. But I would recommend that we put that link up somewhere in there, and I would recommend using the sponge filter inside of that filter, or that goes around that filter to kind of keep those things out from being sucked up in there.
Makes sense.
So yeah.
Now, one nice thing about water conditions off tech is that beetles and other water bugs tend to be a lot more forgiving when it comes to water conditions. They're not as particular as fish are.
Yeah, I don't monitor my water level or like all that kind of stuff, the conditions of the water. These insects, they breathe the oxygen out of the air. They come up for air and then they go right back down. So it really doesn't affect them at all. I mean, obviously, if you had some hazardous chemical in your water or something like that, maybe that could be an issue. But as far as regular water, you can use tap water for these things and it would be fine.
Yep. And the temperature of 68 to 74, you're going to be fine with the aquatic bug tank. No worries.
So my room is 68, 74. Yeah, that's fine.
Yep.
Definitely want a 20-gallon to go next to my desert beetle tank. I'm glad my husband likes bugs. Yeah, do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely worth it. You will. I got a 10-gallon thing, and then that's all I'd want, and I want bigger. And then I got a 30-gallon, and I want bigger. So, I have. So as far as my oldest tank, it's a 10-gallon, and I have. I've only had to add water in it. I haven't had to exchange any water out or change any water out at all. And in fact, let's talk about cleaning this thing. This is what's amazing about this. A lot of these insects, like the water boatmen, if you have those in your tank, are going to eat the algae, especially snails eat the algae as well. And so I maybe once every 3 months have to get my little sponge and I kind of scrub the inside of the front of the glass to kind of get little spots here and there of any algae that's growing or bacteria or whatever. But that's all I do. And the tank is super clean. I can easily film inside of it. It's really awesome. You definitely want that. You want the algae buildup a little bit because things feed on it. So it's actually kind of nice to have it. But I just kind of let it stay on the rocks, and it doesn't stay very often because things feed on it so much. But I definitely just every 3 months or so I got to clean up thing. Now the water will, it will, you know, what do they call that? It'll lower. So I do have to add water from time to time. Yeah. So I do add water in it from time to time, but I just add water and keep it at that minimum level with the filter. So.
But not doing big changes like you do with fish tanks and stuff. And it looks great. I mean, the tank looks great even after you've had it over a year and you're only doing the top offs and the occasional scrub downs every few months. It really looks great.
Yeah. Can these be in open top tanks? So, you know, the tanks that I have, they have little gaps in the lids that are around the filters and whatnot. I haven't covered them. I'm actually going to, just because I want to make a video to show people a way to do it. There's a lot of videos on YouTube that show you how to make custom kind of ways to close that off. But like I said, I mean, these insects can fly. But generally, when they find a great source of water and food, they're not going to go anywhere. I've had my littler one for over a year, and I haven't seen a single one flying around my house. So, yeah. So, we did our first tank we ever did, and actually that was with Peter. We put a lot of branches and wood, and the tannins really bleached. You know, it really colored the water, like a very brown kind of color, sepia tone. And I don't recommend it. I use rocks and living plants. If you want to do things like wood, I would recommend getting, you know, the fake wood kind of stuff, like that tree that's in mine. It's not really wood. It's just like
a resin or something.
Resin or something like that. Yeah. So because having things like leaves or wood and bark, like except for cork bark, but like regular bark, it's going to definitely release stuff in the water that's going to color your water. And I mean, it doesn't affect the bugs. Like the bugs aren't going to care. So if you want that kind of sepia tone water, go for it. But yeah, I mean, I like having the clear water and seeing them swim around and stuff. So I have rocks and plants.
And you can get some pretty good resin wood that looks reasonably realistic if you want.
Yeah, the giant water bugs can fly. All of these bugs can fly. All of them, and they sometimes will fly out of the tank. I mean, I haven't had it in mine personally. I very much feed mine daily. I keep it very active. I monitor it daily. I love it. I love watching it every morning when I wake up, and I, you know, have that sip of coffee and just stare at the bug tank all morning and ignore the world. It's great. But, you know, but like I said, they can fly, and it's possible that they do so. I think having the lid, having a full open top tank, I definitely, having a full open tank, I'm sure someone would fly out a lot easier there. I mean, the lid covers most of this tank, and so I'm sure if something is going to fly, it probably just kind of hits the top and falls right back into the water and goes, all right, and gives up. So,
yeah, that makes sense.
What kind of water do I use? I literally just use the water out of my tap. When I first got my first tank, I went and got a bunch of spring water because I read that that's good to do for fish tanks and whatnot. And then I realized that I wasted money doing that because tap water is just fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's one of the great benefits of an aquatic bug tank. They just don't need a lot of conditioning to the water.
Unless you have stuff that have like kind of gills, like mayfly larvae, but even the beetle larvae, even like the beetle larvae, just fine in there. It's just things that are really delicate, like mayfly larvae, caddisfly larvae, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, tap water
is different from place to place, though. You're right, but again, unless your tap water has hazardous chemicals in it, it's not going to make a difference.
Yeah, and since the bugs aren't breathing in the water, like the fish,
the oxygen in the air. So, yeah, lead.
That could be an issue
potentially. Could be a bummer, definitely for any kind of nymph or naiad or anything like that.
Yeah.
But then if that's the case, if depending on your water, so yeah, my tap water is really hard water. It has a lot of calcium, and these bugs do just fine.
And
the only thing with calcium is that it will scum up the edge of your tank here and there, and you kind of got to clean that occasionally, which is what I've been having to do. So it really just depends on what you want to do. I mean, if you know your tap water is okay in that area, then that's fine. But they're pretty hardy. But lead, if you got a lot of lead in your water, tap water, maybe just avoid that in general.
Yeah. You can get those inline like carbon filters you can hook up to your sink or whatever, and that'll pull out a lot of that. So that can help too.
Are there any diving beetles you've seen online that you haven't been able to get your hands on that you want? Yes. There, I went down the rabbit hole. Thanks to Peter in showing me bugguide.net, I went down the rabbit hole and spent hours of my insomnia not sleeping and looking at water bugs instead. And there are several species of diving beetle in the United States alone that I really want to go find. And there's some even in this state that are in the north of the state that I want to look for. And there are tons in Canada, and I'm hoping that maybe I could spot some that are in Canada down in maybe the northern states, like Washington or those kind of areas. I definitely want to, once I kind of can figure out and I really feel comfortable with breeding the insects, like I really want to really start breeding the different diving beetles, is when I'm going to start searching for those and bringing those to the hobby, and after I can breed them and whatnot.
Cool.
I don't know much about aquariums, but I heard. Oh, hold on. There's so much lead in the city provided water filter string. Oh, there you go. Don't know much about aquariums, but I heard copper can be in pipes. Is that toxic to aquatic insects? You know what? I don't know. I don't. Like I said, I've been using the water from mine, and I live in Arizona, which is like home of the copper. So, in general. And I haven't had any issues, so I know that can hopefully affect fish, but I really don't think it would affect insects. You have to understand, some of these bugs live in like cattle tanks that just have the nastiest water you can imagine. It's disgusting. Yeah. And some of these pools are just like, you don't put your hand in it. It's gross. And I do put my hand in it, and I feel gross every time. But like, it's I mean, I think water quality is not a very big factor for these insects, but it's nice to have clear water.
Right, but as far as the water that we are providing for them in general, if it's even reasonably clean, is probably better than what they're getting in the wild.
Generally, yeah. I mean, unless you have to realize a lot of these bugs that are in this tank aren't. I don't find them in. I mean, they're in streams and whatnot, but I find these things in cattle tanks that live in rusty old cattle tanks. So
where the water is full of metal that's leaching out into the water.
All kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yes, we have had conversations about triops.
Well, that's another thing I want to learn to breed is
Clam
all the
shrimp.
different cool little fairy shrimp, triops. Triops especially, I really want triops in my tank. The only thing with triops is that they don't live very long.
Right.
So you would want to be able to breed them if you want them constantly.
Right, and you'd probably want to set up essentially a triops nursery outside of that tank, and then just periodically restock your tank. And I can help you with that. I can talk to you about that because I've done that many times. I worked triops, fairy shrimp, clam shrimp, just other kinds of vernal pool critters, crustaceans. So yeah, we could totally do that.
Yeah, we should do it. I want to breed them all. I want to breed them all.
So egg harvesting method for these vernal pool organisms. Here's some ideas. Basically, with triops or any of these others, this method basically will work. You keep a sandy substrate at the bottom. You scoop out some of that sand. You dry it. It's not a good idea to. Some people do this. They're like, "Oh, my triops all died, so I'm going to let the water slowly evaporate. I'll put the tank outside in the garage or something. Let the water slowly evaporate, and then pour water back into it." It's not going to work very well when you do that. There's lots of reasons why. One of them is because there's going to be too much mineral buildup from all that water evaporating, and another one is once you pour water in there, there's going to be a bacterial bloom from all the organic matter that's in there. So it's not a good thing. So instead, you put a sandy substrate in there, scoop up a couple of tablespoons at a time, put them in a coffee filter. So they drain.
Put them in your coffee.
What was that?
I said, put them in your coffee.
And see how that goes. Yeah.
See how that goes. Be a little gritty.
And then you let it dry through that. Let it sit and dry for a couple of weeks. Then you take maybe a teaspoon of that or so and put it in water to hatch it. That's a much better way to do it. And that's the exact quantity you put in is, it's going to vary depending on the size of your container and whatnot. You also need to put a little bit of organic matter in there for them to eat. So if you put a little bit of organic compost or a little bit, not too much, a little bit of leaf litter or something like that, because that's going to feed the bacterial bloom that will then feed the protozoal bloom that they will eat for their first few days.
Right.
And you need to use low TDS water, like distilled water or reverse osmosis water, to get them to hatch, because they rely on cues of osmotic pressure for hatching. And if you put just normal tap water in there or something, they're not going to hatch because there's too many minerals in it, at least with tap water like yours or mine. If you have very, very like New York tap water, Washington State tap water that has very low total dissolved solids, it might work. But if you have even reasonably hard water, it's not going to work. Okay, another question. How do you know when to harvest some sand? Triops start laying eggs when they're about a week and a half old, and they don't stop till they die. And they lay a lot of eggs. So yeah, you just harvest the sand, and there are going to be some eggs in it. Pretty much. There will be, every time I've done that, and I've done it a lot, I get eggs. So yeah, it pretty much works every time.
Nice.
And if you had like super low density triops in a big tank, like you have one triops in a 50-gallon tank, it might not work. But if you have like a 5-gallon tank with a half a dozen triops in it, you're going to get some eggs in there.
Yeah, that's not just triops, though. That's fairy shrimp and clam shrimp as well,
yeah,
right?
It works essentially the same way for all of those.
Yeah, and ostracods, copepods, that kind of stuff.
For just about anything that will have a resting egg stage. Daphnia, most Daphnia will. A lot of the copepods, clam shrimp, seed shrimp, yeah. Most of them work more or less the same way.
I didn't realize, has the typo Naturio in the video been brought up? I can't see it now.
Where is the typo?
I think it's in the video. It's like in the YouTube.
Seriously?
Yeah, shapes in Naturio. That's my more formal. That's my formal company.
Your formal okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just barely fixed that. I don't know if it's refreshing, but if anybody knows, but I just barely saved it fixed, so it should be good now.
Aquatic Insect Community suggested from Sheeps and Naturio. Yes.
A new kind of cereal.
It's actually my cereal coming out soon. Sheeps and Naturio. It's
really, it sounds tasty. I'd eat it.
Yes. It has Triop sand in it too. It's delicious.
So you can crush it and hatch it, or you can eat it. Or put it in your coffee, whatever.
Why not? Why not? Not Cheerio.
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out, Aftech. I did fix it now. It should be okay, but missed that. Yeah, I missed two rather important things today. I don't know what my problem is, but first the unlisted.
I know what it is. It's because you haven't come to Arizona this year. That's your problem.
You are 100% correct. I cannot deny the truth of that statement. So next year is just going to be a better year. I'm going to come to Arizona and it'll be fine.
It'll be a complete year. It'll be complete.
Yeah. Well, with a free water scorpion in every box of Naturio.
You have to send the box top for education in the mail to get your free water scorpion.
Yeah, like 60 of them, and then you get a water scorpion.
With every box, we will send a free water scorpion to every school.
Next year will be epic. I am so looking forward to it. I've already have the account set apart to save up the money for it, and I've been putting money into it every month for the past couple months, so it's building up. I'm so excited to come. I can't even tell you. My biggest regret this year is that I didn't get to go out. So
last year was pretty great though. It was a good time.
And it was. But now with the 2 years of good monsoons, there's going to be more of everything, as Peter's pointing out here. So
a lot more water bugs. That's for me. That's a great thing.
It's going to be fabulous. And I'm hoping this time we'll be able to see some more vernal pool organisms too, because last time I remember seeing a single triops.
Yeah.
And trying to catch it, it took off. Didn't see another. I was so sad. But
yeah, I'm gonna get with you. A little later about trying to breed those things if I find some.
So. Oh yeah, totally.
Will it be at the bottom of the box like a prize for eating the whole cereal? Yeah, the water scorpion or the triop stand.
Oh yeah, I heard this one. I was just listening to the one. It was the one where he's talking to Micro Wilderness. Yeah, he was mentioning that. That was cool. I was doing my exercises and listening to the podcast version of it, and he brought that up. That was cool. Oh, I hope to see some videos that you guys do of the triops and the fairy shrimp.
Yeah, I'm gonna get some smaller tanks and set those up for those for sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it is Exotic Pet Collective, not Tarantula Collective, but same guy but different channel. That's true. Yeah, definitely. I would be happy to help out with that. And I actually purchased a set of triops, fairy shrimp, clam shrimp, whatever, from ArizonaFairyShrimp.com to hatch out this summer. So I need to go ahead and do that. I need to get it going. It's because it's been a few years since I've done it. So
it's time, Russ. It's time.
It's time. And I can do that in like a 3-gallon tank. And so I can make that work right now, which is nice.
Pretty soon you're going to find yourself being like, I need a 30-gallon tank. And then you're going to want bigger after that.
It's true. It's true. I do that with everything I keep. And that's why, my house is entirely full of tanks everywhere of all different vivariums, aquariums, whatever. It's full.
Yeah, someone mentioned the Dobson Fly larva. Now, let me tell you, I found one of those, and I was like, I have to put this in my tank because it's so cool. It ate a lot of stuff. It just kept going. So I took it out and put it in its own thing because it's not a communal bug. It's just like the giant water bug. It will not stop eating.
I think I was talking to my sister-in-law who studied entomology was talking about Dobson Fly larvae, and I thought, I need to find one of those sometimes. They sound awesome. Oh. Yes. Yes, Gold Asura. Okay, I probably did visit your PetSmart because I am in Utah. So next time I come into the PetSmart, how will I recognize you? Maybe I can say hi. Or if you see me, just come up to me because it probably was me. Let's see.
You were spotted in the wild, Russ.
I was spotted in the wild, yeah.
All right, see you later, Jackson. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. This has been an epic stream. We got a lot of people coming in once I finally opened it to make it public. We had a lot of people come in, and it's a lot of information. Hopefully people learned a lot. I think so. I think we covered a lot of the things we wanted to cover. So it's been great. Thank you so much for joining us, Jesse. And thank you so much, everybody in the chat, for joining too.
Yeah. No, it's been a great time. Thanks for having me. Well, again, if you want to follow along with all the different species I have and whatnot, just check out my Instagram or TikTok. Either one. I upload videos on both. So, and on YouTube as well. I'm going to put many longer videos on YouTube. And I'm also going to start doing a relaxation stream on YouTube, by the way, where I'm going to film an hour of live stream. Basically, I'm just going to film an hour of the bugs and put music behind it, like relaxing music and stuff. I'm going to.
That's a good idea. Is that going to be on the same channel or a different channel?
That'll be on YouTube, the hour-long one.
Okay, but is that going to be like your Shapes in Nature channel or a different channel?
Nope, it'll be on Shapes in Nature.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
Thanks, guys, and I will keep drawing. I promise. I'm definitely going to be making more designs to come. So
please do. I need like 97 more T-shirts.
97 more bug ones, right?
Yes, that's what I mean. Of your T-shirts. Yeah. So, all right. Thank you so much, everyone. It's been great to have you all, and thanks again. And we'll keep talking about the vernal pool crustaceans so we can get that going too.
All right. Have a good one, guys.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye.